Hi everyone, it's Niamh here and welcome to my art journaling channel. Today we're going to be playing with creating some really simple figures using some collage papers in the background as well. I'm starting off my craft journal and I'm just going in with a whole heap of collage bits and pieces that have been lying around on my desk for quite a while. So I've got old map pieces, I've got collage tissues, I've got bits of text, whatever's been lying around or I've been using recently. There's some wrapping paper, bonus points for the people who can recognise where the wrapping paper came from. I'm sure many of you have got that piece of wrapping paper in your stash. With this I am sort of just mix and matching and gluing down. I do tend to make sure that I glue off the edges. I have got floating bits in the middle, but most of my pieces of collage are actually touching in some way, shape or form. And I find the collage tissues are really good for this because they go transparent, but you can use them as sort of bridges to connect pieces on your page. So you don't necessarily have a border going around the outside, but they are still linked in some way. Now, to be honest, it really doesn't matter in the background because most of this is going to be covered up anyway. It's just to add a bit of difference and something happening in the background. But you know, the theory of sort of connecting everything is probably a good one when you're going in for art in the first place. So now I'm just going in with some paint and again really scrubbing my paint out, popping it in 3 places on my page. So I'm going for a sort of monotone look on this page, so using my favourite blues. So I've got turquoise, marine, mineral, which is a very pale one, and sort of just buffing it out around my page. If I got lots of marine in one spot, so I'm going back in with a little bit of the mineral to sort of dull it down a little bit. Now you can see a lot of that collage has disappeared, so I can still see the texture of it underneath though, which is what I want. But if you do want to see it glimpse through, you can do one of this technique, which is with a wet wipe, just wipe away some of the paint and you will get your collage suddenly reappearing. Now the reason that works is because basically I had sealed the entire page underneath the gel medium when I was gluing everything down, so it was able to rub away the wet paint pretty easily. If I'd done that in a non-sealed surface, particularly my craft page, it probably wouldn't have worked as well. So when you're doing that sort of ghosting technique, make sure you've either got a sealed surface underneath, either with acrylic paint or with gel medium, and then wipe away the wet paint over the top. So I'm using these quirky figures from Scrap FX. They are basically just really simple face sketches over some newspaper print. So if you can't get your hands on these, I am pretty sure you could possibly make them yourself on a bit of gift wrap, a bit of stamping over the top and draw a simple face, or even use a stamped face of some image and glue them down onto your page. So once I've glued them down, then I'm just going to create some really simple bodies for my little friends here. So just drawing them out with a Stippler or pencil once I've sharpened it, because you know it's always the way. And I'm just drawing really simple arch shapes. I'm going serious guns here. I'm getting out the proper sharpener. I kept breaking my leads. So sort of overlapping the shapes a little bit so they all fit in. Now you can sort of see where I've got a bit that I didn't want. Because it's a water soluble pencil, I can just wipe it away, which is really handy. And I personally find it much easier. I'm pretty heavy-handed when it comes to grey lead pencils, so I find by using my Stippler or pencil I can rub it away and save my artwork a little bit more. So I'm sticking with the blue tones and I'm just going over with a darker blue. This is a night, I think, and then popping on a stencil to rub away the background. So I've got some of that collage coming through. So again, you can sort of see the different shapes and shades coming through. With the other 2 pieces, I want to obviously put a little bit of contrast, so I'm going on and putting a lighter colour over the top. So I think I ended up using Sky. Mixing colours together. I didn't really wash my paint brush out well because, you know, it's me. It just, for me, It's a really simple way to get tone and shade by not cleaning my paintbrush. It's the Niamh Baly paint technique of mixing paint. When I used to paint sets, I was a terror for that, which is great when I did it, but it was really hard to match up afterwards because I didn't know what exactly I had on my paintbrush at the time. So now I'm just going back in with Stabilo Oil Pencil to darken everything up. I like going over the top and drawing over the lines that are there. You can see already it just helps pop everything out of the page. It also helps me train my hand a little bit to draw these different wonderful shapes on the page. If you are looking to draw faces or practice faces, get a magazine and draw over the top of them. Do really sketchy bits and pieces. It's just about getting the muscle memory in your hands and just moving them across the page. So particularly with more simple images like this, really, really handy to do that. And just also gives you a bit of confidence of where eyes goes and where noses go and so on. One of the things I often do with my pages is pop in the whites of the eyes. You can see already that sort of brings those little shapes to life a little bit. Also remember the little catch-alls in the face, in the pupils, brings it to life as well. So now I've just put a little bit of red on the page, just for a little bit of contrast, give them a little bit of life, have some cheeks happening. Going in with some blue for the eyes, because most of the figures I have, I put blue eyes on them. I think it's because I've got blue eyes. I'm sure there's a scientific study about painters and what colours they put in the eyes of their subjects. I also decided when I was doing this and I added the red that I did want to add some red heights on. So this is some height washi from Dina Wakley. I use it quite regularly in my artwork, usually on little figures like this. I just like having those little heights on the pages. I like how it sort of adds that little pop of colour, a little bit of humanity to each of the figures. Once I'd finished creating my little people, I wanted to put a quote on the page. Now, I've got a feeling this was one of the last pages in my journal, and I quite like to have a sort of big focal piece, I suppose, as the last page of my journal. Usually is a bit of a jumping off spot into my next journal. So I decided to write this quote: "Your vibe attracts your tribe." Because it didn't quite fit in, I wanted to change the spacing. So again, because that page was completely sealed with acrylic paint and gel medium, because I was using a wet acrylic paint in the paint pen over the top, I was able to get a wet wipe out and just wipe it away, which I just love the fact that nothing's permanent. If I make a mistake, I can fix it up. Once I'd sort of worked out my spacing really simply with my first letters, now I'm going back in and widening my letters, filling in the extra spaces so that it looks like it's been perfectly sort of planned to fit into those spots. In actual fact, it hasn't. It's just, not necessarily dumb luck, but it's a little bit tricky in the fact that it does fit in the way it does. Another thing is I'm happy to write over my image, so obviously I wrote the bit at the top. I knew tribe wouldn't fit into the entire piece, so by putting it down the bottom also helps lead your eyes around the page. And final things that I do, all of my lettering is to do a bit of a drop shadow on it, just around one side. This helps push the letters out of the background, really makes them stand out, and it's a great way to finish your writing. So while it looks good without it, it just makes such a difference once you do it. So if you haven't tried doing this before, have a go on a page, on a sample page, do lettering with and without a little bit of a drop shadow on it and see which one you prefer. So this is a close-up of the finished page. You can see all those layers of collage, you can see the ghosting with the stenciling and how it all sort of ties together with the quote over the top. I hope you have a go at doing this. Lots and lots of fun, particularly creating really simple shapes like this. If you didn't have the faces, you could certainly use magazine faces, collaged out of magazine or pre-bought collage sheets to do something similar. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, bye for now.